There can be problems when tensioning bolts. The DTI easily shows up these problems. Here are some of them and their solutions. Number 1, the DTI isn't closing. Try as we might, the resistance on this bolt is more than the wrench can overcome. What's the problem? A dry, rusty bolt. Solution, remove it and lubricate the threads with stick wax. This will make turning a lot easier. It also helps to lubricate the face of the nut. Now, try it again. Yes, even hand tightening seems easier. Now the wrench can tighten this bolt quickly and easily. Better yet, don't let fasteners get dry or rusty in the first place. Number 2, looks like another problem here. What do you think this one could be? He's letting the bolt roll in the hole and crabbing the tool. It's too late to hold the bolt now. Look at his hand vibrate. Again, there is excessive resistance. Did the rolling cause thread damage? Let's back it off and take a look. There it is. The threads were flattened and the nut froze up. Of course the DTI wouldn't close. Solution, throw that bolt away and put in a new one. Hardened washer, hardened nut. Now let's try tightening it. Go according to the spec book. Always hold the spud wrench tightly until the connection is snug. There, that'll do it. Number 3, what's wrong with this picture? This bolt cannot be tightened properly. The DTI won't close. Why? There's no hardened washer. Solution, you must use hardened washers. It makes the bolt much easier to tighten. Washers are placed under the element turned, in this case under the nut, which is also a hardened nut. 2H nuts are preferred. Using the washer, the connection is tightened much more easily. Number 4. Here's a real no-no, hammering a bolt through a hole. You know that will damage the threads, so don't do it.
Look at the threads.
The bolts cannot be tightened in this condition. Solution, align the holes with drift pins or ream them and start over with a new bolt. Number 5. The problem here is trapped bolts. The drift pins were removed too soon, before the bolts were fully tightened. The holes are now misaligned because the joint slipped. Not only that, but the slipped plies are preventing the shanks of these bolts from being pulled up to tension. Again, the DTIs would show this. Solution? The solution is to bang in new drift pins to realign the holes and put in new bolts where needed. To avoid the problem of trapped bolts and slip joints, do not remove the drift pins before the connection is secured. Number 6. If you've been watching closely, you'll see the problem here. The bolt is simply too long, so the nut reaches thread runout. There is no way to make these bolts work. They will not tighten completely. The nubs on the DTI won't compress, showing that the connection is not tight. Solution. The bolt is removed and measured. 4 1/4 inches long. The length of the hole is checked. 2 3/4. A shorter bolt is needed. When in doubt, check with your supervisor or check building specs and compare to see that the proper hardware is installed. Number 7. In this final example, tightening has proceeded smoothly using the same batch of appropriate hardware until a problem is encountered with this bolt. Solution. The workmen suspect that it could be the air gun. Did someone add another air tool? No, that doesn't seem to be the case. Is there a loose connection? Check the air pressure on the line coming into the tool. That checks okay. Perhaps the air inlet is blocked at the back of the tool. There's a little screen in there. If that's clogged, it will slow airflow and slow the gun. There's also an air exhaust screen on the front of the gun. Yes, that's it. Saturated with oil and dirt, it's blocking the airflow and slowing the gun. The filter is replaced and the gun is put back in service. The quick compression of the DTIs will again show the speedy tightening as the connections are secured. Another tip is that, in general, it's a good idea to keep the hose line between the compressor and tool as short as possible.